right up front, this is not going to be one of those glory day speeches where you wonder what TV show or playoff game you might be missing tonight. I'm not going to go on in detail about all these incredible high school records or a big college race. Those races are over now. But the many golden reasons that made those successes happen can still occur every day. No, I'm really here to talk about you and all the ingredients for success that not only span all sports, but span generations as well. So, of all the things I feel fortunate for, one of the biggest was to be from Chelsea, and to have such coaches as Barry Dwyer and also Tony Guevara. Coach Dwyer passed along to me many useful lessons. For example, that distance running was a sport where you got out of it whatever you put into it. That idea goes way beyond sports. And to do your homework, he always told me, which basically translates to work really, really hard, then outwork the other guy, then the other team, and you'll be shocked at the good things that will follow. I took those lessons to heart back then, and I still do today. Going forward, you all have an advantage over your peers because you all made the decision to participate in sports, represent Chelsea and your families over the countless choices you could have made with your time. You know, the kids from Chelsea always had more challenges than their opponents from much larger schools. All those obstacles, real or perceived, could have been used as a convenient excuse to just show up. But Chelsea kids were always different. They always stood out in many unique ways. With the guidance of coaches like Barry Dwyer and Tony Guevara, who literally gave up much of their personal lives and careers, Chelsea teams always had that never give up, Goliath beating attitude. Chelsea kids did not just accept that because the teams from Peabody and the other larger schools had enormous budgets, the beautiful track facilities, and 10 times the kids that we did, that we didn't stand a chance. But how did we beat them? How did the Chelsea cross-country team of the 70s win 52 straight meets? It's very simple. We just outworked them. Literally by miles. And we challenged the conventional thinking at the time of what teenage kids with a goal could accomplish. And Coach Dwyer led that effort. So I'll give you two quick examples of what I'm talking about. Our cross-country meets were 8 miles away in Medford. After sweeping the first 5 places in the race, what did the other teams see on their comfortable bus ride home back on Route 16 to Revere? The Chelsea team running the 8 miles back home after the race. Yes, the only person on the Chelsea bus was Coach Dwyer. Imagine the intimidation factor of that alone on the other teams of that inventive move. In our first ever indoor track meet against state powerhouse Haverhill, who was new to our league, Coach Guevara told anyone, if you look at those kids in awe, you're going to be pulled from competing today. That's the kind of example and lesson that lasts a lifetime. So many in my generation and older generations, we talk about the good old days, right? Where supposedly everything was better and everybody was supposedly better. But from what I saw at a Chelsea track meet recently, those special Chelsea attributes that I talked about are still very much alive and well in all of you. Let me tell you what I mean. So just 2 years ago, my wife Kathy and I attended an outdoor track meet at Malden Catholic, where Chelsea was one of the teams there. I was sitting in the infield and saw cases of that unique Chelsea pride and spirit. So one boy had a really tough relay leg in his first race ever. And he was more than down when he came and sat near me on the bench. Within minutes, about 15 teammates quickly rallied around him dude, that happened to me 3 years ago, don't worry, things will get better, don't worry about it. Or the girl who, after running the meet's final and longest event, the 2 mile, well after the score of the meet was decided and everyone else had finished, the entire team rallied to cheer her on through those final lonely laps. The overwhelming support and teammate so impressed Kathy and I that we felt compelled to write the Chelsea track coach a letter of congratulations. All the kids that day won, regardless of the score of the meet. So, there's no one recipe, no one easy answer to being your best and to breaking through. But the key is to find your own formula for success. But like all very worthwhile things, it's much easier said than done. It takes time to find your formula that is proven to work for you. But what does that mean, and how can you do this? Well, it means keeping and doing more of what's good and what works, while doing less of what doesn't work. But that's not specific enough. Oftentimes, it really involves what my father used to tell me: be different to be better. Don't typecast yourself. Don't say, I can't do this, I can't go this far, I could never do that. Instead, avoid phrases that start with I can't. Replace them with maybe someday if. You'll start to see things change. It's important to always experiment. So, to relate to running, when the other kids were running 30 minutes a day, I tried running 90. If they were running once a day, I tried running 3 times a day. You can do this too. Eventually, if you don't give up, you'll discover your own strengths and gain confidence. Don't always be looking around for what the others are doing. Try the opposite of what the crowd might be doing. It's something I call zagging. When everyone else is zigging, you zag. I could have been intimidated in high school and college by all those guys with the ideal body types for distance running. I did the opposite. It just didn't occur to me to allow that to be a factor. I trusted what Coach Dwyer told me, and he was right. And also, define what your finish line is, whatever it might be, as you define it. Keep that line in the front of your mind at all times. Don't give up until you see it behind you. And remember, it's really hard to be the person who never gives up. So, decades before the well-known "just do it" marketing message from Nike, I used to say to kids in my college team, a phrase that I used to just say, just get it. My teammates from college would have apprehensions or worries about this or that, and I used to just simply say, just get it. And even sometimes in the middle of a tough race, I'd be running next to a teammate, and he'd ask me, what do you think we should do? I'd just say, just shut up and get him. So, Chelsea is still in my blood. I'll always be a Red Devil. And I bet that is the case, and is going to be the case for all of you as well. In the team meeting or the huddle, we're all comforted by that person who wants the ball, right? Who welcomes that pressure, lives for that challenge, and wants to take it on squarely. You can be that person. Who knows, going forward, excelling in your job might be your big race, and your family might be your team. So, carry forward what brought you here today. Use what has worked in your athletics, such as teamwork, patience, and hanging tough. In the years ahead, people are going to question your will. They're going to try to knock you down. Back in the 70s for the Chelsea High track teams, hard work was always the answer. And very likely will also be the answer for you. It's never magic, it's not easy. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to be easy. Improving can be scary in all challenges. But one of the best, most tested ideas you can keep at the top of your personal toolbox going forward is win your race in practice, which simply means work hard, work really, really hard. And remember what Coach Dwyer would always tell his athletes: you're from Chelsea, and don't forget it. So, in conclusion, I encourage you, test yourself, find your formula, and in everything you do, just get it. Thanks a lot.